Hey guys, StarCraft here, and after doing my video today, because I'm recording this today on Monday, I realized something. I really like Stan Lee's writing when he's good, and I miss him so much. And I don't know that much of his stuff actually. In fact, the only thing that I have that he wrote that was a full story are just that one and, well, these. Yeah. And I gotta say one thing. I had 2 chances to meet Stan. I didn't do them. First time was because he was coming to Motor City Comic Con and I just didn't want to put down the money to and all the lines. Let me just say that year they fired the guy who handled the show that year because it was a disaster. A complete and utter disaster. And though that one was way too busy. And the other time was, I believe, Detroit Fan Fair or something like that. And I had another chance there, and that time I just was being a cheapskate. Now, I regret it. Because if nothing else, could have had 2 of these signed, at the very least. Hindsight's always 20/20, isn't it? But let's talk about this for a second. Just imagine Stan Lee creating the DC universe. Basically, the whole point of this is that Michael Uslan, the guy who still to this day owns the rights to the Batman movie rights anyway, I remember having a meeting once when Batman came out with Bob Kane and Stan Lee. And at one point during the discussion, Bob had said to Stan, Stan, if I had drawn Spider-Man, he'd be a bigger hit. To which then Stan said, well, if I wrote Batman, he would be... Michael didn't hear the rest, but then he realized something. Stan writing Batman. That's an interesting idea. That, not long afterwards, there was that brief window after Stan left Marvel, but before they basically hired him, paid him a regular salary to not go anywhere else. There was that brief window where Stan was free. So Michael Uslan was able to make a deal with Mike Carlin, and eventually they were able to get this. When they met up with Stan, picked up some hot tier DC talents, some of these were the big hit talents at the time for DC, not Marvel. Some of them are at Marvel now, but yeah, you know how it is. But anyway, then they were able to do that. Then he gave Stan a list of things to pick from, and basically he picked out 12 titles, plus 1 extra for our Secret Origins, to basically do whatever he wanted. He didn't even have to stay true to the characters. All he had to do was simply take the title and do what he wanted. Now, throughout all of these, they worked on the Marvel method. They would meet up with the artist, discuss a plot. The artist would then draw it out based off those plots, and then Stan would put the dialogue into it. And yeah, they would just go from there. Then there would be these backup stories, scripted and plotted by Stan, but then scripted by dialogue were by both Stan and Michael Uslan, but the plot was done by Michael Uslan. And then they would have these other artists to do the backups as well. And for this first issue in trade, we have Joe Kubert, the late great Joe Kubert, working with Stan on Batman. You have Jim Lee working with him on Wonder Woman. You have the late great John Buscema working with him on Superman in one of his last works before he passed away. And you had Dave Gibbons working on Green Lantern. So, let's just dive right in, shall we? Now, unlike other cases where I usually go on the big details and everything, given how much this is, I'm not. Not that though, but Stan's stuff just breezes right through. I could just get through so many of these so quickly, yeah. Just one moment first. I'm back, sorry about that. So, and I also like how the order goes in this. They actually go in a bit of a chronological order to a degree. Anyway, we open up with like I said, and just imagine Stan Lee creating Batman with Joe Kubert. And basically, the whole gist of this is that we are introduced to this boy named Wayne Williams. Stan and his alliteration. Anyway, Wayne's father is dead. He was a cop. And he was killed by this one guy named Hans. Why? Because he has big hands, of course. And and I like on the beginning, his mother's trying to tell them, leave him alone. But basically, Wayne is like, come on, Mom, it ain't our fight and your fight. Probably deserved it anyway. And when his mom chewed him out about it, basically then said, and she's like, how could you say he deserved it? And well, he then like, sorry, Mom, I just didn't want you to get hurt. The next day, Hans and his girlfriend, oh gee, what was her name? Geez, I forgot her name right now. They don't even mention the name at the moment, but basically, she and a bunch of guys are trying to shoot Hans. But he dives out of the car like an asshole. And what does Wayne do? Jumps in and tackles her out of the way. But rather than being polite about it, Hans is like, hey, what are you doing saving my girl? And basically starts to teach him a let 1-4. When the girl starts saying, hey, give him a chance, he decides to, and what does Wayne do? He stupidly tries to punch him, and Hans just catches it, putting him right back in the same position. Living says, that was really unfriendly. It ain't smart to be unfriendly to Hans. As he then keeps on squeezing poor Wayne's hands till he collapses, and then they leave. But wanting to really put him in his place, Hans and a bunch of the guys decide to rob the joint and basically by making him like, hey, thanks for the tip, man. Stupidly showing off how justice is blind, but in a way that's really kind of stupid. They shoot the owner. He then gets up, and claims like, hey, yeah, he did. He must have been fighting over the money. That's why he got knocked out. And well, Wayne's put in prison. And it's during his time in prison that, well, a bunch of things start to come about. Like he starts to take a knack for sewing just to try and give himself a job. Some of the big guys are mocking him for it. He ends up befriending a bat. Hans is just, as time's going on, he just feels like, hey, I got this covered. After one guy tries to mess with an old man, hold on. Basically messes with this old man. He basically then starts to, and named Frederick Grant. And Frederick helps him out. He even suggests him like, hey, don't let your time here go to waste. Use those barbells. Improve your body. There's a library. Learn. Improve your mind. You realize they're right next to each other, and you find out how Frederick had tried to, he was a scientist at a factory. Found they were polluting, tried to ruin it, got caught. And but then when he goes back in, the other inmates decide, hey, we'll help you out. And they basically start to work out as we start to see a very nice montage as Wayne starts to get more and more ripped. Then we're introduced to the big bad of all this, Reverend Dominic Dark. Take the name taken from a character from Dan Jurgens' Titans run, but it's a good one where he's at the head of the Church of Eternal Empowerment. And then where they decided we need new members. One of their members is one of the security guards who opens the door. It's about to become a bit of a escape and a riot as everyone's trying, the big guy is trying to wanting to, hey, let's get the warden. Then Wayne basically fights him, beats up some of the other guys, and then afterwards he's get off for good behavior. Also, during this time, Wayne had found out that his mother had died in prison. And hold on again. Sorry about that again. Anyway, because of what he did, Wayne is able to get out of prison early for good behavior. And during that time, now apparently during the brief little bit of time after he had left, he had grown a mustache. But then he decides, if I'm going to go after Hans, I need a gimmick. I need something so he won't come after me. So he sees wrestler. Well, first he shaves off his head, make himself bald. Then he sees, decides to take on the job of a wrestler. Sees he looks at his old friend the Bat, who had taken a liking to him and became a friend, and he decides to become the Batman in a very nice outfit. Basically, to sum things up, Wayne becomes a wrestler, never takes off his mask, go by Stan Lee's logic here, and he's able to get a whole lot of money, but he realizes then he doesn't have the smarts. So Frederick, who had gotten out by this point, Wayne decides to go to him and decides to have him help out. And then in a bit of a confusing bit of information. Decides to have it be, you own the mansion, all that money is yours, I'm just your bodyguard. You already know the Batman owns the place, so why would they believe about Ked and Frederick? Anyway, now Frederick helps him improve a lot of his abilities to fly and all that. Oh, I do love this one bit. Bats aren't bulletproof, but there's no reason you can't be. So he gives him a whole bunch of Kevlar. And basically, Batman goes over to Hans finally, fights him. Really fights him hard. And then, well, he kills him. Tosses him right off the roof down to his doom. Yeah, Stan's not against doing all that stuff. Now, granted, you gotta remember that it's going to the Marvel method, so that was clearly Joe who did that. And then it turns out the woman's name is Nita. And basically, he decides to have Frederick Grant bring her in as a secretary. Meanwhile, we then, back at the Church of Eternal Empowerment, they realize a new player has emerged with the Batman. And basically, they'll be ready for him. The next one is just a simple, hold on, who did the artwork? Mike Kaluta. Oh yeah, I recognize that name now. This one's no dialogue at all, just a newspaper that's going around till it ends up with a kid who ends up trying to make a mask out of it. It's cute, and at the very end, then we have Joe Kubert actually give some of his details working on this. And basically, it was very gratifying because I don't think he and Stan, he'd known him for years. I'd known Stan for years and had the occasion to be with him at conventions and other functions. I was well aware of his accomplishments and reputation in our field. Those were reasons enough for me to become involved in this project. Add to the fact that this Batman was to be a black man, an ex-con, a pro wrestler, also equipped with the ability to glide through the air. I don't know of any cartoonists who wouldn't be excited at the project. Of course. But anyway, next one is Wonder Woman by Jim Lee. This one, just to put it this way, first of all, instead of using the Amazons, he actually goes with the Aztecs. Yeah, I actually was impressed by that. Again, it shows you that Stan has some good ideas to all this stuff. As we're introduced to Maria Mendoza. She's basically, there's this, and while she's looking around at the ruins of what basically was, Cuzco, she meets up with Steve Trevor, who in this case, before Grant Morrison would do it, is a black guy. Yeah. Stan beat, Grant into the punch. As we then have her meet her, it turns out they're working for this, evil man, very evil, named Armando Guitez. And she meets up with her father, who is their local town, Santa Adelia's official Juaz, or judge. Why they went for specifying that, I don't know. But basically, when he asks, why do you work with that man? Out of the blue, he just goes into this big story about how, these people, and there was this farmer whose wife was killed with his daughter, and this is like, she's heard this story before, but it's the first time he made it clear, oh yeah, that was my wife, your mother. Why now out of the blue? Who knows, but knowing with Stan, making that coincidence kind of works. And then he decides, like, I will never become a victim again, but, well, he ends up just being in that same situation anyway. As finally her father, after seeing Guitez kill a guy in cold blood, again, first time after all this time, decides to stick up to him, and basically he's abducted. Maria goes after, and Steve Trevor helps her through when she realizes, oh, you work with Guitez, decks him, not knowing that he's, well, undercover, and then, well, Guitez shoots her father, still offers saying, you'll be my bride. Maria, being a bit of a badass, knocks him as she runs down until they make it to the ruins, where Steve Trevor has actually been helping out, finding two of the more potent ruins. Basically, these ruins hold demons, and anyone who smashes them gets the power of the demons. Two of them have already been sent out. We'll get to those later. As he's holding one of them until he is shot by Guitez. That was on one of these demons, and the demon is released from the ruin. And it turns out, well, there it is. But because he's the one who, by shooting it, destroying the ruin, it was able to absorb its power. He then starts to smash a few other ruins, gaining more and more. Until one of the demons, which apparently my guess is was released by a cave-in or something, is released, goes in and fights Gites, until Gites wins that too. As he's gotten more and more powerful until he decides to leave. Maria then goes in and finds an ancient staff of, oh geez, I didn't even mention his name at the beginning. The, Manco Cap and Capac. As basically she takes the staff and takes on the power of, well, she's Wonder Woman. As she's able to fly thanks to the staff. Gites gets on his private jet and takes off, and Steve Trevor dies, giving her a, "They'll never stop hunting you, you should be able to, you must not fail." And then it turns out the staff has an instruction manual that shows her how to fly, how it can basically grant her desires. And basically, she decides to head back over there. Gites' pilot sees him and he says, "Might as well practice my killing. Why land when I can just crash anywhere?" Because he knows he could survive. He does so. We meet up with this one photographer, Mike Willard, and then sees Wonder Woman fly right past him. As then, well, the whole thing is in a fight with the demonic Gites. As she keeps them, they fight a whole lot. She uses her, the staff becomes a bit of a lasso. And well, first it's a shield that extends into these energy ribbons and then becomes a lasso. Although I don't like it how it's basically like a cable. And I love how Gites like, a cable has two ends. He tries using it against her, pulls him right up, and then drops him right onto the perch of the church, well, the Church of Internal Empowerment, killing Gites. A lot of deaths in all these things. And then, well, using the power of the staff to purge him and purify everything. Flying up until she collapses. We find, and Maria wakes up, finds out she's Los Angeles, and turns out English was one of her requirements back back home. She then goes to and gets an idea to work for the National Exposer, where Willard works. Meets up with him and, well, basically decides, he hires her based off her looks and her determination to help out with find out about Wonder Woman. Next story is one of the other backups. This one was dialogue. This one was artwork by the late Gene Colan. As we're starting to see that everywhere Wonder Woman went, miracles would happen. Like a girl who was sick suddenly is not sick anymore. A guy who's about to be a thug is awakened to the light. A crash almost happens, but it's made less horrible. Reverend Dark, when Gites attacks, the light starts to purify him until Dark retakes control. This one woman tries to commit suicide on the Hollywood sign but backs out. And then we cut to a museum where there's Diana Prince. Nice. As this, it turns out she receives a package from Steve Trevor. Inside of it are two hawk totems, a hawk man and a hawk woman. And her, her assistant basically finds it ridiculous, but I do love the last words here, because it's basically on say, "You think you and I would morph into some omnipotent hawk woman and hawk man if we dropped these? Do you, Carter?" Oh, wait, duh. That's Carter. It's in Carter Hall. Ha! Like, it's nonsense. Ancient superstition. Perhaps, but I notice you're not dropping them. I like that. Just 1 second. Again, I'm sorry. Things are busy over here. Sorry about that again. But, yeah, Jim Lee then gives his little details in the back. And then the next one, the late, great John Buscema. Now, by the time of the trade, John had already passed, unfortunately. But it turns out Adam Hughes had did the designs for the outfit. And he was trying to go for more of a Canadian Mountie. But this one we're introduced to a man named Saladin on a far-off planet, later revealed it is Krypton. They try to make a joke of it, like, oh, it's unpronounceable, things like that. It's Krypton. As Saladin and his wife, Lyra, are basically, we find out through all this that Saladin is the only member of the police force who does not got enhanced. And he's trying to prove himself that he doesn't need to be enhanced. As we're introduced to, they're dealing with this bunch of thugs who are attacking them. And we have some stuff like that there. Apparently that's a stun grenade. That ain't no stun grenade, Stan. As we're then introduced to the Gorak is the villain. Bald guy, kind of like Luthor-ish. As he flies off and he wants revenge on Sultan. So he decides to take it on his wife. Yep. On Layla, not Layla, Layla, who is dead. And he's like, she's dead. Oh, I can't live on. And he decides he wants revenge. Goes after him. They start fighting on this time-space bender is what they call the ship. And the space-time bender, which is a ship that can cross space and time. Fighting on the ship, but it turns out it took them all the way to Earth. As they crash land, and, well, gets off, goes in, starts and the lighter gravity allows him to move, taking a bit from the old Superman origin history. But then he started to take things a little bit ridiculous. And then apparently how they eventually reveal, a bit strangely, how it says, oh, he can't fly because the harness on his thing doesn't work. And yet, later, he can fly. Yeah, I don't get what Stan... Sometimes the case where some of Stan's dialogue kind of failed, but then you also have a bit where it's like, oh, just by listening, he's able to figure out their language already, or saying how, amazing, only 26 letters in their language. Back home, our alphabet has more than 1,000. Stan, I get what you're going for, but that's a bit ridiculous. And a little bit stereotypical as Gorak meets a bunch of tribesmen. You saw me fall down from the sky, so that makes me a god, right? A true god can defeat my warriors in battle. Yeah. He beats them, they worship him, and he says, I'm going back to the mainland. Yeah, Stan was still not against those stuff. We then see that Sultan takes on a job as a circus performer to make a bit of money. Rolling with it. As he gets the name of Clark Kent from a passing vehicle and a sign. Okay. And then he's able to get enough money to get a refurbished hotel. And then he starts realizing from comic books, oh, hey, I better keep myself an identity, otherwise they'll never leave me alone. And it kind of goes on a roller coaster with that. He also realizes that their space program is not fast enough to be able to make it something similar to Space Time Bender to take him back home. So he kind of comes to the idea of, hey, if I can help them solve all their world's problems, they can focus more time on their space problems. Kind of make him a bit of an asshole. As we then see Gorak meets up with Reverend Dark, who makes him a proposition. At the same time, Lois Lane shows up to make Sultan a proposition. And basically decides to make him she's an agent. And decides, oh, I can make you rich beyond your wildest dreams. All of a sudden, these government agents show up, try to take care of his outfit and his stuff and his harness. And then turns out Lois brought in a lawyer. Then it turns out Gorak abducted the Chinese ambassador, bringing the world to the verge of war. So, Sultan, okay, Superman, just stick to Superman, flies off, helps out the government to try and find out. Apparently Gorak somehow kidnapped Lois Lane. How the hell did he know about any connection between those two is beyond me. And then, this great moment of him breaking the chains, out of the classic moment with Superman coming out of chains, fights him off, breaks out and frees Lois. And then Gorak shoots up near a bunch of apparent wall, debris fall on him and killing him. And then they realize where the ambassador is, using a clue that Gorak had given him. He flies up to a clock and gets him out of there before a bomb blows up. And then it just ends with basically Sultan saying, you know, Lois, you're a treat for the eye, but we're not on the same wavelengths. And they're thinking about how, oh, I gotta find some way to get home. And Lois is thinking about, oh, I'll get 10% of this agent and another 10% of this manager. As they walk past the church. The backup story deals with this, it's done by Kyle Baker, and deals with this comic book place called, what's it called? I don't remember actually what the comic book's name is, but basically talk about how we can get a Superman, get us the rights to Superman. blah, blah, blah. You know, it's a bit of a blowhard. But then he realized, like, hey, he's a public figure. That means he has no rights, right? And so they think, oh, we can make all this comics. And so they do a Superman comics. But then Lois Lane shows up, and I love the card there. And he gets the bad guys, I get 20%. Then, using a bit of a bluff, Lois is able to convince the head guy, Joe, to pay the money back, and then Lois decides to leave, and I love how there's a little Stan cameo there, and then Lois calls up Detective Comics saying, "Would you like to and to take care of all this?" Now, coming out of the present day, kind of bit of the timetables are a bit off, but I'll roll with it. Kind of like how Marvel Comics had actual comics, you know. But it's a nice little gag, but that's not the last we'll see of Joe. Adam Hughes is the one who did the information here on this one, and again, it just makes you really realize you miss how much Buscema is being missed. Next one is Green Lantern by Dave Gibbons, and you can already tell the Dr. Manhattan vibe. As this case focus on Dominic Dark sending these guys to the forest, as we're focusing on hold on, Professor. Oh, jeez. Come on, what's his full name? Oh, jeez. Come on. What is his full name? Oh, Leonard Lewis. Leonard Lewis, who is a guy who understands mythologies. And he believes like there's always some scientific explanation. And basically to sum it up, the people at Darkstead are trying to find Yggdrasil, the life tree, the tree of life. And it's in Africa, the cradle of mankind. So Leonard decides to head there. The guys that Reverend Dark's men are dealing with a bunch of weird green gas. They even destroys a giant crane. There's one woman named Cassie that's a student, follows him, and Dark basically makes a deal to Craig, and that's the guy, the main guy. You know, like you so much, however much you may fear this and the terror of that forbidden sight, it is nothing compared to the terror of my wrath. As basically Leonard makes their way there, Craig shoots them, and we find out that Cassie's actually been working for Dark and basically calls him an idiot. He was the best chance. But sure enough, more than he thinks, as it turns out, Leonard is found by Yggdrasil, who chooses him, well, basically to be his champion, as he heals him up and basically gives him the power of the Green Lantern. Well, at least that's what Leonard chooses to call himself. And yep, that's the Dr. Manhattan pose. Although, no nudity, no green penis, I guess. As then, he basically flies on off, and throughout all this is Craig has been tasked by Dark to deal with them. Cassie's trying to do her own thing. At one point, Green Lantern stops what he thinks to be a mugging, when in actuality it was a undercover cop and he let a guy get away. Whoopsie. And eventually, that's when he starts to figure out his powers. Leads into a bit of and the guy, Craig, gets killed, aged rapidly thanks to Dark. And then this giant red mech comes alive and basically kills Cassie before Green Lantern destroys it. And then, like I said, Dark kills Craig, aging him till dust, as he then takes off. And Green Lantern takes off, deciding, we gotta stop this. I gotta stop this. We then get a backup story with Jose Luis Garcia Lopez artwork, as we focus on the guy and the cop, Kevin King, who basically, and throughout all this backup story, it's one of the interesting ideas that Stanley actually does. He takes the idea of, okay, I'll get this. With Marvel, you had to be that the people were always leery of the heroes, for the most part. In this case, he goes the opposite. He takes the idea of the heroes in DC being praised and puts it in his ear, where it gets to the point where everyone starts to be all like, there's a fire going on, kids in there, hey, someone's saving that kid? Why bother? One of those heroes is going to show up. They're already becoming lenient towards the heroes already. They feel like, why bother? But I want to see a show. And they're in LA, of course. That's also how they're acting. And, well, of course, King realizes, can't be here all the time. Goes in, saves the kid. People are first like, oh, I want to see a superhero. Now, this part gets a little wonky as turns out he inspired a whole lot of people to decide to sign up and become cops. I don't buy that. But he's basically showing how humanity is being inspired, and he's going to basically like, we want to be like you. Your cops think we have a chance? Son, the world might have a chance. Unlike the dinosaurs. Meaning, that was a reference to a liner where one of his other cops tells him, we're becoming obsolete like the dinosaurs now with these heroes around. Even though King's like, hey, I got a badge. A badge means nothing when you have powers. I do like that though. How Stan's taking the notion of you, because these characters are much more powerful than what he would do at Marvel. Basically taking the idea of they could easily replace the cops if they wanted to. And I like that. Be right back. Again. I'm back again. We move into the next trade, as this one deals with The Flash with Kevin McGuire, the JLA with Jerry Ordway. They don't mention on the cover, but also the Secret Files and Origin Story was Dan Jurgens, Robin with John Byrne, and Shazam was Gary Frank. And with The Flash, well, one, you went with a girl, one was a white outfit, kind of, and McGuire admits it was based off of, Cameron Diaz's outfit in Charlie's Angels, that white outfit. And, well, we're introduced to the villain right away, Andrea Zakar. I love Kevin McGuire's artwork. I gotta get to doing some of his other work. Basically, she's part of this organization known as Stealth. I don't get much of an acronym, but it turns out they're trying to figure out time travel, hoping they can go back in time, steal stuff, and then bring it forward in time without, being killed. But unfortunately, it's not working, as they're trying to find a scientist known as the Seeker. We're then introduced to Mary Maxwell, a young, spry teenage girl, and with a boring-ass father. At least until Stealth agents show up, and very inconspicuously. They show up, and it turns out her father is the Seeker. As Zorgal, that's the big muscle guy, is coming after them. He rips right through concrete. And, well, basically, father has jet engines in their car, and they take off. And basically, up until this point, Mary's been feeling like, my life's boring. I wish it was more exciting. And then her father basically tells her, your boring life? It's gone forever. You may soon wish you could return to that dull life that you're always complaining about. We're then having Dominic Dark just doing a sermon. Nothing much of a focus on him in this one, actually. As Mary's father explains everything to her about, like I said, Stealth is trying to find a way to send people back in time. And he basically was to try and improve their crew so they could survive the time travel. And then, once again, Zorgo finds them, gives chase. Her father is a few steps ahead of them as they take off. But then eventually they go into this green mist where, well, the fish are dead by this green stuff. Mary falls in and starts to absorb a lot of that green stuff that's in there. Green, huh? At one point, because she's gotten so sluggish because it's draining her energy a bit, one guy at the airport calls her Flash. That comes back into later. And she's been trying all these other energy pills, one of which is Energy Booster Gold. And eventually, given how her father is a biochemist, decides to inject her with hummingbird DNA. That's very early Marvel science. I dig it. And that was supposed to be a little bit to help her out, but eventually the Stealth guys show up, shoot her father, and injects her all the way with it and with the DNA. She then all of a sudden gains the speed right away and takes the guns and sends the guy flying. And then Andrea shows up, thinking they've gone insane, and she kills them. Mary's father dies, basically again giving her the same warning of don't reveal yourself. You'll be hunted. You must also mention her biggest weakness will be fatigue. As at the same time, turns out some of the scientists were able to figure things out with the time travel device without needing the Seeker. Now they keep on giving this warning, we never find out until the very end, but eventually Mary decides to use this abandoned movie set to figure out her powers, even realizing she almost goes through time. She was running before and she met herself, right before she took off. That's how fast she was running. In other words, she ran faster than the speed of light. Then Zor-El tests out the device, uses it successfully, and then Andrea takes him to, brings her to her place to seduce him, and then tries to blow him up. He was the most loyal guy and she just blows him up like that. That just tells you how evil she is. Then Mary decides to get a bunch of outfits. Decided to take on the name Flash because, that guy was being funny, but it's kind of, fitting. And thus she's the Flash. Now those tassels are meant to give the rainbow effect of, white light, rainbows colors behind her. And then, Andrea wouldn't realize, you gave me these warnings, but I found no effects. I don't like false warnings, and she kills them. Meanwhile, Zor-El climbs his way out. And then, Mary as the Flash deals with a bunch of the guys, and I love this how she's ready to flick the bullets away. I like this one especially. This is one of my favorite ones. As she deals with the guys. Zor-El then stomps his way over back to Stealth HQ, where Andrea decides to try and, woo him again. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. But then says a weird bit of, try to save you to stop you from entering that cave. What cave? And some of the hiccups right there, but otherwise, she decides, I'm going to go forward in time to plot things out. Zor-El's in charge. And then Mary decides to try and deal with the Stealth once and for all. But she ends up there. Zor-El decides, no one ever leaves here alive. So, but they decide to wait until Lady and Andrea returns, Zakara. And then Flash decides to find a way out. I like what she does. Actually causes wind to, speed to send some dust, make him like, hey, what's going on in there? And she zooms in, zooms out and zooms in, acting like she just got him out of there. And then she starts taking out a bunch of the guys, but she went so fast, she ends up becoming exhausted, trying to deal with Zor-El, as she's already getting tired. In fact, she only wins by, she has rubber soles in her boots, knocks the water down that ran by the electric cords, and, kills them. Now, in this case, makes sense because she was running on empty. Then Lady Zakara shows up. Turns out they said if you go too far back, went too far back too fast, meaning in one go, and come back to the future, it's going to catch up with her as she dies too. As then we just focus on Andrea deciding, I would do everything in your memory, father, as Dominic Dark watches her wandering off, just thinking just an ordinary looking girl, but there's something about her. I better watch. Oh, turned out that comic book company was Fly-By Night Comics. And we focus on Joe and Midge again. This time though was Segura and Aragones on artwork. Yes, I had him sign that too. As turns out though, they've realized I'm ruined. But then Flash zooms on by. They find out about the Flash, and he didn't. But then Joe realizes something, a big thing. Turns out he has a couple of dummy companies, and he realizes that they have a title called Flash Comics. Now, originally in this case, there was just a guy who was named Speedy, who would flash people. But it was one of the dirty magazines. But you just keep the logo, change the subject to Supergirl, and since he owns the name, he can actually publish it. And he also realized he could sue him. And wouldn't you know it, everything becomes it's a bigger hit than even Superman was. And he thinks about using fly paper to try and stick her if anything happens. Flash zooms on in and basically leaves him a message and a note saying, DC Showcase number 43, the only Bond comic I'm missing, and a fan letter. She called me, wanted to know what you needed in Sweet Girl. Dear Joe, I'm an avid comic book reader and your biggest fan. I love Flash comics. I can't believe I have my own comic book. Like, I wish you great success, and also wish you donate a fair portion of your profits to the Dr. Philip Maxwell Memorial Foundation for DNA research. Love, The Flash. And then she does a little, like, you made a little error. And then I love at the end. Midge, Joe, cut a check to that foundation. How much? $5 million. You sure? No. When? Before you change your mind? Better do it. In a flash. Yeah. Okay, that was a lot better than the other one. Oh, sorry about this. 1 second again. Sorry again, keep on getting interrupted. Next one is the Justice League JLA it was Jerry Ordway. This one also introduces the Doom Patrol, a bunch of criminals who are on death row. Right? One was first of all, originally was supposed to be 4, but they kept it to 3 to keep it simpler. When they were going to be 4, 2 of them were going to get the same execution. So it feels a bit better. One was going to be lethal ejection, one was going to be the chair, and the other one was going to be the gas chamber. And basically, well, they made a deal with Dark before, or with someone. You think it's Dark, actually, but it's not. Basically, right at the last moment when they're dying, they are transported away. Now, oh yeah, the funny thing is, why name a group of villains? Stan himself actually said when he saw it, like, you mean they've got a great name for a team of villains, and a great name for villains, and they give it to a team of superheroes? Really? I'm like, yeah. As we're then introduced to, well, those criminals and those death row mates end up becoming Deathstroke, the Parasite, and Blockbuster. And even Deathstroke still has an eye patch, of course. But in this case, he has a killer touch. And Parasite can possess people, and Blockbuster has almost impenetrable skin. As this kid is running, his name is Adam Strange, of course. As while Green Lantern helps him out because he was running by Leonard Lewis's school college campus. I like it with Deathstroke, how he's guy bumps into him, he takes the paper and kills the guy by grabbing his face. And thinking like, oh, maybe I ought to cut down on the Twinkie for a while because he thinks he looks fat. And basically we then Adam Strange reveals to Green Lantern about Dominic Dart. Makes the claim that I saw what he was doing and I ran. They decided to contact for help, as during the Yggdrasil sends out a message to Maria, Wayne, Superman, and Mary. Maria and Mary. And they basically give them the messages about what to do, you know, needing to help out. Maria, she goes into the closet instead of Superman, taps under her wrist and turns into Wonder Woman. Lois basically, like, Solid, this will be great publicity for you. Yeah, she now knows his real name. Beforehand, she just thought it was Clark still. Okay, just kind of, if you could believe that issues have gone by between that Superman and this, okay. Like, I'll send a camera crew to film you in action. I'm your manager. You've got to trust me. All right, anything to shut your yapping. They're going to be in love, aren't they? And then Wayne, of course, basically they all take on and follow their little green flames. The flames each fly back to the Green Lantern, who I should point out has been weakened by his fight with the Doom Patrol. As Superman is the first one to show up, and he puts his hand on Green Lantern's symbol, basically then showing him a vision from Yggdrasil, revealing how turns out it was the representative of Earth, of the Green, on Krypton that was able to create the space-time bender to send him here. At least, actually no. We find that out way further down the line. Sorry about that. But yeah, basically he's able to teach him, like, you fought for evil in your own world. Basically, this would have been the point where he changes from being all about himself and deciding to actually help people out. And then even realizes, like, he's right. Back home, I was a cop. I didn't pick and choose my fights. Why should I be different here? I actually like that. Again, if there were other issues beforehand, I could still see him having this characterization, and then by this team up, he decides, I gotta change my ways. They've been like what happened with Avengers. hold on once more. I'm so sorry, people. I'm back again. Again, sorry about all that, but yeah, this is going on. Adam Strange is trying to warn him when Blockbuster shows up and starts smashing his way around him as Adam Strange books it. You then have, and then Wonder Woman shows up dealing with Deathstroke as Batman fights off Blockbuster, and then Superman gives it a swing in. Hey, girlie, regards from Yaga, who's it, what's it? What? Watch it, man. And you almost text me too. Already we're getting to Stan Lee, them arguing. Brother sees them, the two of them are about ready to throw down right then and there as Wonder Woman's trying to stop them. I like that. Then Parasite takes over Superman. Uh-oh. As Deathstroke then grabs on the Green Lantern and starts to drain him more and more as Adam Strange basically ditches them, basically saying, my only hope is Superman, as Wonder Woman's also knocked out. Batman, being the only normal guy, pulls him and both Maria and Leonard aside, trying to ascertain the situation. It doesn't look like he has much of a pulse when Flash, ironically the last one to show up, does so, and the little green whip, it turns out, goes right into Leonard and gives him a bit of a small boost, a little bit of the latent energy, which I like, that makes sense. And then, using the Flash called a distraction, they take off on their chopper. Also, Maria turned back into Wonder Woman. And basically, Lois shows up trying to figure out what's going on. They're all trying to ascertain everything. And I love it. Given how she's a comic book nerd, Mary's all like, you know what? This is just like in the comic books when the good guys get together. In fact, I feel like I'm living in some sort of origin issue. My dad used to say, if you get a lemon, make lemonade. So I figured, if you get a superpower, join a superhero team. Can we get a super secret password, a special handshake, stuff like that? Look, kid, as much as I like your enthusiasm, this isn't a game. You should know up front what you're getting into. The bad guys don't play by the rules. For a guy who's trying to form a team, you're one lousy salesman, Greenie. Sounds like you're trying to turn me off. He's just being realistic, dear. If we band together, we must do it with our eyes wide open. Again, this one I really like. It feels like, well, yeah, this feels like an actual origin for a superhero team with the Justice League based on what he's created, and the characterizations are coming off pretty well. Though, again, a lot of it probably goes by to Jerry Ordway setting this all up for him. Parasite controls Superman and arrives at the Church of Eternal Empowerment and starts wailing on this purple force field, just slamming on it, pounding on it. He's basically, he's Superman, so he thinks he can do it. And then Adam shows him a weak point right in and there, and, well, and I'll tell you why they call me Superman, as he smashes it, taking it down. Now, the big question is, how much of this is Superman? How much of this is Parasite? Because it's not telling how much Parasite's in control. But then Deathstroke and Blockbuster show up right at that moment. But then the League show back up. But then the point we reveal that Adam Strange is the one who gave them their powers. He's the one behind this all. As they all start to fight him again. And basically, it turns out, as they're fighting him, that Adam Strange is actually the son of Damian Dark. And he wants his power, so they start to fight for it. And, well, Parasite controls Superman, starts wailing on Dark, but he shrugs it off and reveals, well, we don't see much of his face, but he's apparently purple energy as he absorbs the energy of all those around him. Why? Well, because they let him suffer such devastating blows. Again, hold on one second. I'm sorry, I'm really sorry. Just been really hellish today here at home. Just things are all crazy around the house. But anyway, Green Lantern shows up just as Dark is killing Adam Strange, taking the amulet for him. Is about ready to take the Parasite's power when decides instead, no one possessed the Green Lantern instead. And well, it turns out, whereas most versions he's weak to yellow, and here he's weak to purple. Why? Because that's the color of the evilness. And a bit more, but I love this. I bid you welcome to the dark side, Green Lantern. Or should I say, the purple side. Oh boy. But then we start to see back outside, they're the rest of the League are dealing with them. Wonder Woman then realizes, though, after Batman points it out, how he's always protecting his head. Turns out it's a weak spot as Wonder Woman stabs with her staff at the back of the head, shattering the purple casing. As he then runs and gets zapped by a open wire. And basically, when it says, like, how awful, he electrocuted himself. Well, look on the bright side. He saved the state the trouble. Wow. And then Flash realizes Deathstroke's not dumb enough to touch himself. So basically she acts like she's standing still, dodges, touches himself, and he dies. But the way it goes, it feels she's really coming off as cold as well. And then we start to get the big action sequence as everyone starts joining in while Green Lantern's down, as they all start fighting dark. And then, Wonder Woman and Superman get in a few blows. Everyone's doing what they can. Meanwhile, Green Lantern and Batman's trying to help Green Lantern out. But it looks like for a brief moment that Parasite's taken over until Yggdrasil makes a deal to the Inner Woman and basically helps her move on and banning her evil ways and accept the peace that she's offered. She does. He gets up. Dark, though, starts to take out Wonder Woman and Superman and then sends them all outside, as then Green Lantern transports them all away to Yggdrasil, where they then decide to become the Justice League of America. Why America? There are certain tax incentives, advantages, can't argue with that, and basically that's how the Justice League formed. And I like that one in particular. Then we get into the, jeez. Hold on again. Sorry on that one, people. Something online. But anyway, the Secret Files of Origins focus on Dan Jurgens as, well, basically he's then decided, trying to, Maria is being asked, by Mark, I believe it was, to, hold on. Well, anyway, Mark. It's basically, he wants to figure out a bit more about the Justice League. So then it starts, asking, like, could you help me out find them? Or, could you help me out on a date with Wonder Woman? Bill, give me an hour. I won't let you down. Basically trying to make it I can get you an interview with the Green Lantern. And basically, but he doesn't believe her at all. But she's heading out, she says, like, good idea, boss. I'll just give Green Lantern a ring. They run on out there, and it's like, why are you coming out there? Where's the Green Lantern? Points upward, there he is. And turns out she saw him from out the window. Duped by my own assistant. As Green Lantern's dealing with Star Sapphire, basically a Medusa-headed character, as he ends up banishing her away. And then basically he starts to explain to explains to them about what's going on. This is where the point about Superman being from Krypton's Earth's representative or spirit sent him on ahead. And basically he has to bring up stuff like pollution, all that stuff, getting a little preachy, but not too much. As basically saying like the whole green mist, everything except for Batman tied to the green in some way, shape, or form. And then eventually Maria then contacts Lois Lane, brings him Superman comes on in and starts to lead to a funny gag of what would happen if Stan had put the dialogue speech bubbles over Action Comic #1. Throws the car, keeps smashing through glass. It was a good idea having Jurgens do this one because it's nice to see him draw Salden. As he then takes off, then later contacts Wonder Woman. Again, she just explains and fills him in on everything. Batman, we also have Batman meet up with King. And for a brief moment there's a gag where, get off your high horse, detective, accept help when you can get it. And for the record, I have no superpowers. I'm as human as you, maybe even more so. What's that supposed to mean? way I hear it, you took a green glowing blast from the lantern when he mistook you for some mugger. Who knows if suddenly you won't mutate into some green lantern, or hornet, or arrow, or llama, or whatever. Okay, that's kind of funny, but yeah, basically, Mark goes up to him, asks him, hey, what kind of powers do you have? Basically, Batman tells him, say, not you too, as he takes off. And then, well, Maria then shows up as Wonder Woman, and decides to show him how Vision wants to come. Creates a globe, summons up all of her, the rest of her teammates, and we get a nice shot referencing the meeting of the Justice League and the Justice Society. And I like that, as we're introduced to the new heroes in the next half, leading us right into and just imagine Robin with John Byrne. Interesting fact, this is originally supposed to be the Justice League and the Legion of Superheroes, in which case Byrne almost declined it, because he has no love for the Legion. Once it became Robin, he felt like, good thing I held off. We open up with Robin and Batman duking it out. Okay, basically, this video's going to take forever if I keep it up at this rate, but after this little scuffle, we find out that Robin is basically, that's his name, Robin. He's basically an orphan who got the name Robin because a robin kept on hovering on his bed. Meets up with Damien Dark. He becomes a bit of a thief, as he basically starts, doing stuff that Dark asked him to do, until he meets up with an old friend of his growing up. Her name was Bess, and they seem to be sweet for each other, and he starts to make them start to question things a bit more. We then see Wayne meet up with her as he's trying to he wanted to find out what's up with this kid, and eventually it leads to another fight between the two of them and Batman and him for a brief moment. This is actually where we catch up to where we're at, as then they make their way in to meet up with Damien Dark. Now remember, by this point, Batman and all the others are well aware of Dark is doing, as eventually it leads to the two of them teaming up and fighting Dark, all of his followers and worshippers, until Dark decides to once again just leave and take everyone away. Eventually, Batman offers Robin to be his sidekick, and he tells him to basically take a hike. Okay, given how Stanley's stance on sidekicks, I'm not that surprised, as he then takes on off, leading into the backup story done by Joe Severin, as this is the case where Bess goes back to the orphanage. Now, this guy here isn't popping up in some of the stuff. He was already in earlier in this Robin story. He was also in the Superman story. You don't even remember what, I was going to even give much of a name to him. But basically, she's looking for two other strange kids that have been at the orphanages. Mark Merlin and Tommy Tomorrow. As the guy goes up to Madame Xanadu, name dropping a whole bunch of these, as she snaps and basically saying, you gave her every right to be suspicious. Well, I'll give her a bit more, starting with your disappearance, as she sends him away. And basically does so to bring forth Tommy and Mark. As really they're just trying to, claiming to try and, get her off the track. But basically they make things even more confusing. But, she explains explains himself a bit more. Mark, at first, Tommy comes off, because she's a tomboy, get it? She's coming off like, oh, I always want to be adopted, but never did because they didn't like me being a tomboy. And she's coming off sweet, whereas Mark's being a hard ass and saying, maybe I'm descended of Merlin for all we know. And then Madame Xanadu just pushes her around. It's like, well done. She's no threat to us. You just forced her out. But basically they're saying how one of them is to take Robin's place and be empowered. But one of them is also Dark's children. But never fully specified if it was a son or not. These two are going to try and go at each other's throats. And, well, that eventually leads us into Shazam! Yeah, that's Shazam. We're introduced to Morgan Le Fay, all the way back in medieval time, the King Arthur era. As we're also introduced to a very interesting take on Merlin, I must admit. As Merlin and Morgan Le Fay fight, and then Merlin seals Morgan away. As then we're introduced to these other people, and these two individuals, Robert Rogers and Carla Norell. And they are basically archaeologists they're in Egypt, and at the same time they're dealing with a guy named as Gunga Khan. Weird name for sure, but things are going on. They see this old magic man who's doing legit magic, turns a snake into a rope and back into a snake. And basically he's causing things to come out from nothing, but they think it's still parlor tricks. Until then the old man gets beaten up. And Carla takes him out. And they have some special training, and she has special training. And then eventually the old man grabs onto Roger and basically tells him, magic must not die with me. You must remember Shazam before he then does die. Then all of a sudden, Dark, meanwhile, senses something's going on. And it turns out Morgan Le Fay is working with him. Again, there's a reason why it goes in this order, because it's starting to reveal stuff. And hold on again, looks like my phone I need to make some space on my phone. Sorry about that, wanted to stop it before it went over and got cut off on me. And anyway, like I said, the old man dies and then his body just disappears. As we then see that obviously Roger has a liking for Carla as they're getting ready when these guys come in. They want to know, what did the old man tell Roger? But basically he doesn't know at that moment, so they toss him into the water. But then he then thinks about the word and thinks Shazam, and he turns into this big hulking red monster. Yeah, that's interesting. They still keep the notion of the changing back and forth. And in this case, oh yeah, he feels stronger and everything, but then he says the word Shazam, and wouldn't you know it, changes back. Now, this was before Captain Marvel became Shazam fully. So, again, a bit of ahead of the curve there. And we're then introduced, we see Gunga Khan as Carla before. As it turns out, Gunga Khan is working on a shrink ray, planning on shrinking any of those who dare stand in his way, including the United States. That's his plan, is to use the satellites to do it. As Robert Rogers. As we then see him turn into Shazam again, and soon gains the ability to fly as he then takes off. And, well, again, every time he says the word, he keeps changing back and forth. Makes it a bit hilarious. As he then just changes again and, well, soon makes his way in. And while he's strong, he's not uber strong. As he had to use a rock to break the door down, as he just keeps charging his way in. Until he gets zapped by electricity by Gunga Khan, which makes him docile for a moment. He's like, ugh. And eventually Carla's trying to break out until, well, Shazam is told to keep an eye on her. But then eventually this one guy's taunting about what they're going to do to the United States, and that snaps Shazam out of it. I'm helping someone who wants to destroy my country. I love the guy's thoughts. Judging by the sound of that voice, I'm not eager to turn around. As eventually Carla and Shazam both go in and start just kicking ass. Again, I like that about it. But eventually Gunga Khan fires the shrink ray until Shazam remembers he can fly and then takes off, smashing the satellite before he can do anything, thus dispersing the ray. And then they're about ready to fire it again, but then Shazam turns it on them, shrinks everyone down until they take off. And then, well, Robert then says the name and reverts back to being himself again. Carla now understanding everything. And then basically they're talking about what to do from here on out, and he almost says, like, every time I say, uh-oh, almost did it again. And basically being Shazam has brought them closer. It ends pretty cheekily. Of course, Morgan and Dark are ready for them at the end. We then cut to, now this voice is, and one is, and the artwork is done by Kato. As we focus on this young boy who's being visited by a man, Ambassador Batson. Again, the back is where we start to drop more of the fan service nods. As this young boy and boy's parents were there trying to help out with the Peace Corps. And I love at one point when they're talking about the moly is a secret plant in our folklore, considered very, very holy. This moly is holy. Again, cute. Until the boy's parents die, unfortunately. I think it's Billy though. And Billy's parents died, unfortunately. But then Ambassador Batson explains to him about what's been going on ever since Shazam showed up. He then meets up with his friend Zubin, and they then decide they gotta try and do their own thing, as they realize people are stealing food that has been raided. So the boys get some elephants and run and bring the food back. Ambassador Batson then makes them honorary captains of the Peace Corps. And it turns out Billy's last name is Marvel. So he's Captain Marvel. Thus ending this volume, man. Again, I like where Stan's going with this. I really do. Just give me one more second. Last time. Okay, that was the last time, I promise. From there on out, all the way to the end now. This is where we get into the last four now. As we get Aquaman with Scott McDaniel, Catwoman with Chris Bachalo, Sandman with Walt Simonson, and Crisis with John Cassidy. Yep, you heard me right, Crisis, as in a character. Aquaman is a very interesting one, as, well, you already see, it looks a bit more like a water version of Human Torch. As we're introduced to Raymond, no last name yet, as, actually, one other second, because they usually mention it in the introductions. Raymond and Ramon Raymond is what his name is, as he's basically talking everything to his girlfriend Amelia, who is completely bored with him. Then, as they're talking, all of a sudden Frank, Raymond's brother, shows up with messing with them a little bit as they're just chit-chatting, talking about this notion of the heroes and all that. As basically, Frank and Raymond's father was a Coast Guard, and, well, yeah, things were going fine until, Raymond decided to go into marine biology. And he decides to show off Amelia his new thing that he's working on. As he then goes to the water and just showing her, ready to say, come on, it's exciting, as he injects himself with something. And she says she has something special to show him too. It's a bikini. And she's like, was it worth it? And I love it. Hey, I can stare at you in that bikini all day, but now it's my time it's time for me to prepare my surprise for you. Be aware, I'm taking no oxygen supply as he goes underwater. Basically, he's trying to prove that he can go underwater by what he injected himself with, some similar type of chemical that can allow him to basically breathe underwater. So it's hoping to basically, trick him out. It's a DNA thing, so it's very much like Mary's father. Until a shark chases him into some green water. Of course, it has to be green. Until the water does something with the DNA and turns him into, well, Aquaman. He then gets out and, well, he's disoriented as Amelia is then basically just bored stiff. Thinking like, well, this was a wasted trip. As they make their way back until some pirates try to get them. Until, Raymond starts to put up a good fight, gets knocked into the water, and then he becomes Aquaman and gets up on board and, well, takes care of it. He then eventually starts to try and, again, all the other times, figure out what his powers can do. He then tries to tell Frank what's going on until some guys try to shoot him. But because he's water, it actually, no, given where they're at, it gets Frank in the leg, but does fine, doesn't do anything to him. As he then gives chase after them until, they drive right into a truck. And as Stanley's caption box says here, I'll just take a breather with this battle. No caption box can explain it any better than Scott's great drawing. And yeah, those guys are dead. And, Frank now feels like he's going to be useless because now he's stuck permanently with, needing a crutch. As he then talks about his brother, he saw what happened. He's like, what was going on over there? But he says, I love how he's then like, I'm going to use it to be the man that Dad would have wanted me to be. The man you always wished I was. I'll still do what I can for the environment, but until you're back on your feet, Frank, there'll be a crime fighter in our family. And no one but you will know my secret. To which Frank says, "Corniest speech I've ever heard, kid. But your heart's in the right place anyway." At the same time, then, Frank stumbles his way into the Church of Internal Empowerment, but he feels like these guys are a bunch of loons. And basically starts to show everything out. But it's through him that he starts to realize what's going on with Raymond. And then they tell all the their men, go over there and take care of them, get them. And they do. He turns into Aquaman and fights them off to defend Frank. And they basically get away from there, leaving David and Damon and Morgan to deal with the guy, thinking they'd become mad. And Raymond decides what he's going to do. And the backup story has artwork by Ramona Freydon, a longtime Aquaman artist, and it focuses on Frank wanting to try and do what he can in the forest despite his crippled leg. So he's then sent to Paris to study up on their tactics, where they allow people who also have injuries to still keep on working. So it's like, come back, give me a report, and we'll see what we can do. But while they're on the plane, some more of Damon's Dark's men try to deal with that, take him out. Until then, the rest of the people on board the plane decided to think of another 9/11, and they take him down. They end up, Frank is considered a hero, meets up with the police who, he says, some of the Justice League of America, no can do. They're not the this time, this is for justice in France. And it's like, then perhaps the A should be an E for Earth instead. Now, apparently, somehow he's already become part of Justice League, somehow. But when he's asked, because the guy asks, how can you be certain whose interests this JLA has at heart? Humans or superhumans, Americans or everyone's? To which Frank thinks, nuts. I can be certain, but I promised Raymond I'd keep his identity a secret. I can't tell this guy I'm Aquaman's brother. Okay, I like that. It's a bit of Stan playing up on the whole notion of, again, the person who knows the secret can't tell anyone. We now get into Catwoman. As in this case, we focus on, again, hold on. Joni Jordan, again with the alliteration, as she's a model. We're also dealing with this guy named the Skin Crawler, more on that later, as Joni is considered one of the best models in LA. But then these guys try to show up to abduct her. But then all of a sudden a green bolt of lightning strikes both her and her cat Ebony. And right as she's passed out for a brief moment, but when she gets up, those guys are wondering what's going on, but then someone takes them all out, striking in the darkness. As we now see, she's got really long claws, and she was able to see in the dark. Ebony's also gotten her little abilities too, as we then focus on Joni's boss, who sees the news about what's going on, and he thinks for a moment, Joni's a heroine, eh? And the whole city's talking about her. That means I could charge my clients for her and more for her. But I must let her know she'll want a raise. Oh, what an ass. And then we meet up with um, oh yeah, Raven's her name. And she's basically, giving Joni lip. For a brief moment, Joni almost has her claws gone before she puts them back. Then she decides to go on home to her father, who's a cop, and not that happy about this superhero stuff. She was about to tell him everything, but then she decides after that, he's like, nope, can't tell him. Then she decides to come up with her new outfit and somehow makes her skin paler when she has the wig on, but she's now Catwoman. She then, once again, figures out her abilities as she's jumping around from rooftop to rooftop. And then she starts realizing she can use her claws to actually puncture right through brick walls somehow. And she helps deals with a fireplace, gets people out of there. And then we find out the skin crawler, just by showing his face, can make people's skin literally just crawl and jump off. As he's basically telling the men, you got one more chance, bring her in. As basically they do, and he falls for her right away. And he was going to use her as sort of being a model to get into a bank. And I love this. I knew you were a model, but I never expected anyone so bright, so lovely, so appealing. You were to be the linchpin of my plan to rob the Fifth Federal Bank. But that was before I saw you, before you won my heart. A bank is merely a bank. I can rob it at any time, but you must be kept safe, free from harm. You shall be my own personal treasure. Wow, what a creep. She's put away into the secret room. Before then, she starts using her claws to make a mess to get guys' attention until she escapes. As we then see that, oh, that's a very creepy Damien Dark. As, basically, we see Raven goes in, and then, Joni, with her wig still on, whoops, flirts her way in, and she gets inside, and basically decides, Catwoman's going to stop all this. And she basically takes down those goons, but good. Until then goes for the skin crawler as he takes off with his jetpack apparently. And opens his face, revealing an old man that almost makes her skin crawl. Then she soon realizes she has to take him down fast before he can see her, and, well, takes him down. And then we see that Dark once again feels that and realizes there's a new person on the table. And, well, once again, Joni's father is not happy about all this. As we're then, we're leading into the next story done by the late great Darwin Cook. And we focus on Miss Drake. Dinah Drake, of course. And turns out she's a rival for, as far as being the model. She's like the #2 model. And she has a knack for assuming the worst in people. For a brief moment, then Ebony the cat slashes at her. And then she meets up with Joni's father, Hal Jordan. And basically they, get to know each other until they see these guys coming on and saying they're about to get Joni. So she attacks them and kicks their asses until Hal comes in with a gun, telling him to hold it. As I should point out, he's an ex-cop, a retired cop, I should have said. As basically saying, no, they're here for a testimony. If you hadn't assumed the words, you would have heard that. He basically then says, tell you what, Miss Drake, I'm going to buy these black and blue men in blue a cold one and see if I can get them to agree not to press charges against you. And then they walk off, and it turns out what started the whole rivalry, they both named their pets Ebony. Okay. We then lead into Sandman by Walt and Simonson. This one deals with again, what is their name? They don't always mention it right off the bat, so I'm just trying to look back and see. It is, oh, come on, what is his name? They're going to say it in the intro this time. Wow. As his name was, the young boy was, oh, come on, what is his name? Larry. Larry's his name, but basically he's a young boy who was very sick, always in bed, being told stories about Little Nemo and all that. But he was always fought by the Thief of Souls. This monster who kept chasing him, and the ground became like a treadmill. But eventually, once he got better, he made up for lost time as he worked out hard and became an astronaut, something he always wanted. Until his best friend died from something known as the sleeping sickness, which turned his skin purple. We then see as others are going around. Basically, we're starting to reach into the final echelon. Dark makes an offer for people. Some people fell asleep until they woke up and caused some violence. A couple were killed. Still, there was a green void up in space. Again with the green. As Larry then, Larry Wilton was his name. Probably no alliteration here. As basically they go to the church where one of his friends is wanting to go there for a brief second and show him off. And Brian's his name. As Brian Rand. As he meets up with Morgana, and for a moment he's like, "Oh, you're making a swimsuit model?" Yeah, this guy's very much flirty. A lot of Doctor Strange. But then one guy passes out from the sleep sickness. Morgana starts flirting with him more until he's like, "Nope, sorry lady, I can't scope a church that shrugs off a dead man like that. Be sure not to catch cold in those threads." As he walks off, he realizes now, because at the beginning I should point out, he's stuck in space, seemingly dying from lack of air. They eventually go on up, but while he's out making some repairs, there's a commotion on board the shuttle until it blows up, knocking him flying until we catch up to where we're at, and it ends up in the green smoke in front of Yggdrasil. But it turns out it also sent him into the dreamscape, much like he had as a boy. And as he's running off, he meets up with the fairy girl from his dreams, Oracle. As the Thief of Souls continues to try and grab, in a different form, tries to grab him and fights him off until he's knocked aside. The Oracle then reveals how bad dreams create some of the worst. Genghis Khan, Jack the Ripper, Adolf Hitler, and currently Damien Dark. As she activates him as power-up, the Sandman, defender of the dreams. And eventually, she basically starts to teach him everything he can do. And one of the points is showing he feels her hand and all that stuff, you mean he'll give him, he likes that, feeling her. But then she goes right through him, and when he asks, "How'd you do that?" "I didn't, you did." "It must have been crazy, and it must have been nuts to do that when you were stroking me. I feel you still do not see the gravity of your mission, or the danger to your world." And he basically says, right now I'd rather stop and get to know those luscious lips of yours. Jeez, Larry, come on. But then the Thief of Souls continues coming towards him as Larry is sent back. Turns out his body's still out there as he's asleep. He was asleep. But he eventually wakes up and makes his way back to the church. Damon Dark can't stopping his sermon when Larry shows up. And then eventually he reaches for the gauntlet that gives him his power, and he retracts himself, thinking "You may leave now. The meeting is ended." As thanks to now his powers, he then sees what's going on. Someone's trying to steal another man's soul. He then stops it, but people think that he attacked him. As he runs off and goes to sleep, he wakes up again, seeing a big wave of souls rushing around. As Oracle tells him he must leave, and he goes right back, right as his body's being thrown out the window. Of course, if he dies, he's stuck at the Sandman. So he remerges and is able to use his powers in the waking world as he goes intangible, and then flies off. He then tries to stop the guys, one of which gets killed off as he gets, obviously Damien Dark does something as the other guy runs, until he's stabbed dead. Oracle tells him to come on back, and then he starts to relive the dream of being on a treadmill until the Thief of Soul takes on his original form. But he's able to then stop a bunch of the thugs until he then finally activates his power and becomes a raging storm, attacking the Thief of Soul and destroying him. And then in doing so, he fully becomes a Sandman, gaining his full power and the mark. Eventually, he's able to lead everyone back home as a big looming threat is following him, seemingly trying to grab him as the souls return to most of their bodies. We then see that Larry show up and find out that Damien Dark was trying to stab him while he was hidden away. Turns out, though, Dark was the Seeds of Soul, wearing the mask for it, no less. As turns out, all this was to try and give the souls to Crisis. But it turns out at the end, Crisis has come to Earth. Leading into the Richard Corbin... Wait, was it Richard Corbin? Yep, Richard Corbin drawn backup story, which has a very, very day-live vibe. As this one guy realizes what's going on, somehow, what he's saying, will become a slave to Crisis. Don't fall asleep. You're next. You're next. And that's a nice creepy vibe as we get into the last issue with John Cassidy artwork. It opens up first with, now again, we gotta imagine a whole bunch of stories that passed between then and now. As Catwoman is going after someone, quite clearly Robin, stealing away with one of the Hawk totems. She gives chase but then knocks somebody over as Diana Prince contacts, well, Wonder Woman. Although she uses the name Maria. Yeah, nice for keeping secrets. And how does Diana know Maria? We never know. But realizing when the totem has been taken, she summons them all there. As Simonson, not long afterwards, has the body of Damien Dark. And then Superman and Shazam immediately start fighting it out until Green Lantern separates them. Catwoman's hiding behind Wonder Woman. As then they ask, what's going on with Sam and Damien Dark. He tries to explain everything about the dream world. But as I say, basically, we should really be worried about Robin. Batman thinks, hey, he's a good kid. Robin tries to get people to distrust him. Until then, Aquaman separates. As the fight starts up again between Superman and Shazam, Aquaman separates them. Flash is a bit amazed. And then Damien Dark, eventually with his dying breath, warns them about what's going on. As Madame Xanadu is ready to get the amulet. Until Tommy Tomorrow, showing a monstrous form, comes in for an attack. As she and Merlin go for the amulet until Xanadu sends them into the Phantom Zone, where they meet up with the Phantom Stranger. It's Adam Strange. I'll get that out of the way. He's been reformed. He pulls out a demon from Tommy, taking care of her actually, and then reveals that indeed Mark Merlin is the son of Merlin. The son of Merlin and Morgan Le Fay. And he then gives them a warning about what's going on and then sends Mark back with the amulet as Crisis is stomping around. We then see, and they're talking a bit more, with Oracle trying to help him out, saying what's going on. And then they have a plan ready to go. And then Mark Merlin shows up. Morgan Le Fay shows up, talks to Mark as she basically embraces them until Oblivion blasts them as Crisis kills them. Okay, that felt pointless as he now has the amulet and continues on fighting them. Until then, Crisis starts using his power of purple energy to make everyone feel their worst dreams, worst nightmares. And yeah, so some of them happen until eventually Sandman uses his power then to, well, put him in a bubble, a force field. As they try to figure out who's betrayed them. Someone has betrayed them. Until Sandman reveals to them all how Robin didn't seem to do much at all. Until then, Robin uses the Sandman Stone to send Superman back to his planet. And then he starts to reveal, they also reveal how, yep, it was Robin that stole the totem. But then Robin starts to turn the tide a bit more, showing he knows a bit more than he lets on, revealing that Oracle is the daughter of Crisis. And once she admits it, they all turn on Sandman. Kind of finicky, as then Robin takes the gem from the gauntlet, allowing Crisis then to abduct most of the League. As he then shrinks down and puts the amulet on Robin, revealing he is the son of Damien Dark and Oracle. As meanwhile, this is where we find out Superman's home planet is Krypton as he arrives there. And he thinks like, well, Lila's gone. You know what? It's good. And that Lois Lane chick was starting to grow on me. Finds a bit of the rock where they use for the space-time bender, realizing it's kryptonite, of course. Uses it to transport back because it's like the space-time bender. Batman was the only one who wasn't abducted. He uses Wonder Woman's staff, contacts all the people from the backup stories as everyone starts walking in. And then Superman flies at Crisis and uses it so he can use the kryptonite to blast Crisis, releasing everyone. As Beth tries to talk reason into Robin, but he kills her. Batman then decks him, he drops the totem, and then Robin becomes a Hawkman. As now Hawkman is now working with Crisis as they fight the League. Until basically Hawkman starts taking everyone out. Until then, Green Lantern uses the power of Yggdrasil to pull Hawkman down underground until he is soon reborn. Literally, from as a fetus until he becomes the Atom. And then, well, the Atom just kills off the Crisis. But when you think about it, you have the power of the amulet, the power of the Hawkman totem, and now the power of Yggdrasil, and no shit, he's OP as fuck. But then they approach the Atom, basically saying how, hey, and all the people are saying like, hey, we'll fight behind you if you make any, if you mean any harm. So they're saying, if you want to help us, join us, then join us. If you don't, then yeah. But then M says, had you have begged or had you have threatened, I would have turned against you. But he has spoken with honor, so I say, I shall repay in kind. As they join the Justice League, and Stan Lee decides to name it as the Justice League for All. So, that's Stan Lee created the Justice in the DC Universe, and for what it is, it's a bunch of one-shots focusing on the characters, obviously allowing time to move in between them off screen. I like it. Wish we knew what happened more in between stuff, but for what we got, I really liked it, and I thought the artist choices they had were good. I thought Stan's writing was very good for the most part, a few hiccups here and there, but I thought it was still very good, very creative. A lot of the concepts are great. Stan Lee's always been a great idea, man. With the right artist, can really bring out the best in him, and yeah, what else can I say? Although it did feel a bit rushed at the end, but what are you gonna do? Even John Cassie admits it kind of was, but it basically was wrapping everything up. They had to move it along, boom, boom, boom. And for the most part, yeah, it's a bit of a Deus Ex Machina, but it felt a little bit like some moments were being built up to. It's just that, again, a lot of stuff happened off screen. What are you gonna do? So, yeah, that's if Stan Lee created the DC Universe. And eventually, that was where it pop up again. They'd be in Convergence, and it turns out they're one of the official, according to Multiversity, of the 52 Earths now currently. Earth 6, I believe. And I'm glad Grant was able to keep up with that, and to keep them. And I wish DC would do more with them. Bring them back, do something else with them. If you could do something with the Tangent Universe, why not that universe? So that's all else I got to say. Tomorrow I'll probably I got something else in mind. I'll be doing the Jeff Smith, Shazam, and the Monster Society of Evil. And this time I do mean I'll be doing that. So until then, catch y'all later.